how I got started in business was actually, it all kind of started when I was off at college. I was going to school at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, and really I was bored. I was bored and I wanted to be successful. I wanted to kind of make something of my life, and I felt like I wasn't really living up to the standards I had set for myself. And how it started was I'd always had this dream of, since watching kind of some of these movies like Glenn Ross and what have you, of being a hedge fund. Like owning my own hedge fund was kind of the first idea, and I started stock trading on my own. So I had a bit of money saved up from my summer jobs, and I said, I'm just going to start day trading it. And I opened an E-Trade account, and I started trading stocks, and I created my own system, and I thought with my, I had a pretty good, I was always pretty smart at math. So I figured I could kind of beat the stock markets at their own game, but I ended up losing money. It was funny because I almost doubled my money. I think I took like $5,000 and got it up to like close to $10,000. But it was all in stocks, so I spent a lot of my own money, and then all my stocks went down to $4,000. And so I ended up spending a lot of money because I thought I was making so much, and just losing even more. So that was the start of my business and entrepreneurial career. The concept for my current business, I'm presuming you're asking, is I always had a problem with, I love education. Just to set the record straight, I love education. I think it's incredibly important in society, and I believe it's the number one way to turn just like a human raw material into a superhero, and I always felt like there was something lacking from the current education system. Just it wasn't exciting enough, it wasn't engaging enough, and it wasn't focused enough on kind of goals. My goals in going to college were to really, it was really basic at the time. It was to, meet hot girls and to make a lot of money. That was kind of the purpose of college for me, and it helped with one of them, but I never felt like it helped me get the start in my career and really earn money. And I saw these people around me doing so much better than I was, and even like college dropouts making lots of money. And I thought, okay, well, there's something lacking here, and I believe something needed to be improved in the system. So really, I started with that in mind. I wanted to create an educational experience that was fun, exciting, engaging. I thought, I think education should almost be like a Batman movie. It gets more exciting, as you progress, and I thought there should be real payoffs, real points that you can measure, your progress towards success. I just think it needed to happen faster. So that's kind of the impetus for my entire business. My mission from the outset of creating my business was to do something that really energized people to become involved in education on a mass scale. I was able to, in my previous businesses, I was able to really get people excited about learning and, that process of going through education on a small micro scale, but I wanted to expand things to envelop really anybody out there. I wanted people to get excited about education again, because I think education has become stale. It's become, it's slow moving. It's become overly expensive, and I knew to change that. I needed to do something. My goals were, I needed it to be something that millions of people would get excited about, and something that, you know, anybody could afford, you know, without this whole, you know, government loan stuff, which is just, I think, a way of putting people into slavery. And you know, that was really the goals. So my biggest influences, I would say, are, you know, number one has got to be Elon Musk. Seeing just his ability to really create and shape the world according to, you know, both, you know, shape the path of the world, you know, both according to where the world's going, but also according to, you know, how he believes, you know, his vision of how things can be better, you know, closed circuit, you know, energy loops, and, you know, transportation, his visions for, you know, space exploration, and, you know, going to Mars. You know, he's taking people's dreams and really making them, and his own dreams as well, and making them real. And is just his ability to do business and create those relationships, and you know, marketing and you know, engineering is unparalleled. So I look to him as a huge influence. Other people I look to as influences, let's say Tony Robbins and Tim Ferriss really stand up there. You know, I respect Tony Robbins a lot because of his ability to, you know, he's really interested in people, and he's really interested in change and kind of personal growth and change. And I think that's a really important aspect of also education and just of successful people. I think it's a very basic quality that entrepreneurs need to have, but many people still don't understand yet, that kind of personal growth, self-development stuff. And Tim Ferriss, you know, just because you know, he was kind of who introduced me to the whole world of really internet entrepreneurship, and he kind of separated time from money. You know, he made that distinction really clear in my head, because I grew up in, you know, my parents were from the Midwest, and it was always, you know, the quote you always hear, it's all about hard work. And I still think it's about hard work, but what I always believed was kind of money and success were directly correlated with the time you spent in things. So there's a slight distinction there. It was basically that time equals more money. And I think that distinction's wrong, because we live in a knowledge economy now. So it's very different. We're not talking about, you know, progress on a linear scale. We're talking about leverage and you know, really, you know, much more bigger picture things now. So he made a big distinction for me that's helped me in my journey. And just, you know, I would say, you know, to back things up, I would say my parents and my family have had a big effect on me, because, you know, just imbuing kind of a very high level of standards in my life, and you know, my work ethic, I would say, has been an invaluable asset. So just those things in general have all kind of come together and coalesced to really, I'd say, becoming. Oh, and last thing is science fiction authors. I am an avid book reader, so science fiction authors, I could name a bunch, but obviously, you know, Frank Herbert, Werner Vinge, William Gibson, Neil Stephenson, among others, have just been you know, Ernest Cline, you know, mind-blowing, in helping me get to where my current vision is. Okay. What book has inspired me the most? Oh, God. I would say, you know, this is going to sound so cliche, but a really good one that's inspired me a lot is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. It's a great book, you know, but his whole concept of ludus and the kind of learning planet, and just what education looks like in the future in virtual reality, and it's really interesting to me. It's really intriguing to me, and poses a lot of gives me a lot of ideas for how I would like to see what I believe is a good model for creating education in the future around. Also, I would say is Werner Vinge, in his book Rainbow's End, he creates a really clear plan of, or he has really interesting concepts. He doesn't go super deep into clarifying them, but about just-in-time learning. He calls it JIT, just-in-time training, something or another. But where people are learning knowledge really fast. I think it's fascinating. And also the repercussions of kind of rapid learning, I find really, really interesting. So if I were to use one book, I'd say Rainbow's End by Werner Vinge is actually one of the most influential books I've personally read, and I believe has really interesting models for everything from education to crowdsourcing knowledge to even affiliate marketing, and obviously augmented reality in the future. So that's been a huge influence.
What are some books you'd recommend to people who want to be an entrepreneur?
Books I would recommend to people wanting to be an entrepreneur. So this is going to go like a little against the grain, because I know there's a ton of business books out there, and really, frankly, you could ask this question of any entrepreneur, and you'll get all the standard books. You'll get 0 to 1. You'll get The Hard Thing About Hard Things. You'll get the 4-Hour Work Week. Millionaire Fast Lane. Cashvertising. These are all great books. And that just for people looking for that kind of standard kind of like what are the entrepreneur books, I would say 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel is obviously very good. Elon Musk by Ashley Vance is a very good book. Millionaire Fastlane is an amazing book. 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And we named some of the good ones there. I'd say Cashvertising. I'd throw in Cashvertising just to kind of give people an idea of marketing. But the books I would recommend, those are all nice, but let's shove those aside for an instance, because what I believe being an entrepreneur is about, it's about vision. It's about changing the world. It's about taking the world to a new place that it's never been before. It's easy to create a hot dog stand, and make money doing it, and it's easy to start up, another McDonald's franchise and make money doing that. What I truly believe entrepreneurship is about, it's about moving the world forward. It's about changing. It's about creating change that hasn't been there up until this point. And I believe the best books are going to be science fiction books where authors have the best imaginations around, and they're the ones who are actively imagining what the future can look like, either in a bad case or a good case. The books I'd recommend are, I'd recommend Rainbow's End by Werner Vinge. I'd recommend Existence by David Brin. I'd recommend Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. I'd recommend really, I'd say the whole Bridge series, or really any book by William Gibson. But I'd focus on the Bridge series that takes place in San Francisco. Those 3 books. I'd recommend. We covered Ready Player One by Ernst Cline. Those are you read through those books and you can start forming a really interesting ideas and thoughts about what the future is going to look like or could look like, and as well as ways you could create. Great question. So this is the classic Peter Thiel question he asks of people. One thing that I believe, there's a lot of things I believe that most people won't agree with me on. I could there I could go into things about aliens or simulation theory or artificial intelligence. Which are all pretty crazy. Depopulation. I think those are all interesting things, but I'll keep it a little more tangible, less theoretical, because we honestly we could come. Give me a beer. Let's go in a hot tub. We could hang out for hours talking about some stuff. We actually me and my buddy do this. We call them hot tub sessions. But to answer your question, I would say it's that educators care just as much about economic mobility as anybody else in the world. So to go deeper, I believe a lot of people just kind of take for granted that college professors and teachers don't really care about economic mobility. They just they're just happy to be there and teach and give back to the world. And so they don't really need you don't need to worry about the money aspect of things so much. And I believe they care just as much about economic mobility as anybody else in any other field or profession, and that's been sort of the basis for the latest company I've created, WeLearn, which is it's based on helping educators get to the next level, to reach thousands of students, and to do so in a way that's congruent with them. So we're trying very actively to help solve that problem and bridge that gap. So my typical day is, wake up around, I'd say 7:30. I have a 7-month-old baby, so kind of hold the baby for a little bit, allow my wife to, brush her teeth, shower, wash her face, whatever she needs to do. Then I'll feed my cats and the dog. Then I go for a run. So I'll go for a 3 to 5 mile run. I'll do some push-ups and some other kind of like crunches and stuff, push-ups and crunches. 3 to 5 mile run, come back, shower, and then I will, come back, do cryotherapy, which is kind of like my new thing. It basically frees you at a negative 150 degrees Celsius. It's pretty gnarly. And then I'll take a shower. Skateboard home and take a shower. Then I go to work. I'm probably in work, let's say like at 10, and I'll check email. I'll check some of my messages from the previous day on Skype for maybe 30 minutes or so, and I'll generally have my notepad, and I have maybe 2 or 3 major activities that I want to get done each day, and these are always, I try to spend less of my day reacting, because I think it's very easy as an entrepreneur to just be reacting to messages or emails or problems or fires that happen in your business all day, optimizing things, because I always want to have some big activities that are going to actually measurably move my business forward. Maybe it's a new marketing campaign, maybe it's speaking at a conference, maybe it's shooting some videos or doing some research or something like that. Then towards the end of the day, I'll generally work until around 7 o'clock, and then I go home, eat dinner with the wife and kid, and I'll read whatever the latest book is. I'm currently reading Daniel Suarez's book, Damon, which is really amazing book, really excited, just blowing through that book, and it's great. So and I'll typically have a snack, maybe some froyo or popcorn at night. So that's kind of my that's my routine right there, and I'm sticking by it. Being an entrepreneur, I only had a family after I really became an entrepreneur. I'd say it's had an amazing effect, because when I was working a corporate job, I never had any time to myself. I never had any, I was just stuck in the rat race, right? So I never had that time, I never had that time to really define my own income, define my stability. And being an entrepreneur has given me the opportunity to find all that for myself and, really, have a family. So I'd say it's had an immeasurable impact on things. I would say it is a little bit hard for my wife sometimes because the schedule of an entrepreneur is erratic, right? You don't just go in at 9 and you clock out at 5. You're working, I'm working till 2 o'clock in the morning some nights. And, that changes things up. Sometimes I'm away for a week or two at a time because I'm on, basically a road trip of, doing, maybe different conferences I have to do or whatever reason I have to travel for. So that definitely is a bit hard for my wife, but I believe it's much more in line with kind of the natural relationship dynamic between male or female. I believe the natural dynamic that, women want, or the dynamic that women want is, that kind of assured, time slot 9 to 5, but that corporate lifestyle, it's not natural. It's not, there is no precedence in nature for, for human nature for us to work on that sort of time slot. So some people might say, oh, that's hard, it's hard not working 9 to 5, but I believe we're actually going back closer to a more natural human existence, kind of having this a bit more of a dynamic schedule like that. And some people may, vilify me for that, but, I'm very much about, I very much recognize our animal kind of roots, and I think that's something we should respect and not antagonize.
If we want to transfer the stuff and everything, I gotta kind
Okay.
of back it up.
Okay. Let's do one more question then.
Okay. What is your favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur?
My favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur is, I would say it's the ability to just define your own time, the ability to define who you work with. Those are the most amazing parts. When I was working in the corporate world, I didn't choose who I got to work with. I was just handed people. They'd say, hey, here are your clients, or, work with these people. You may like them, you may not like them. Doesn't matter. And, also the time, because in corporate land, you have to work between these hours and these hours, and not being able to kind of, that's not how life works. That's not the natural flow of things. And so I'm much more for a natural existence, and I believe that entrepreneurship brings you closer to that and puts you more in control of your life.